Okay, hi. So we'll start with the class, okay? Just a quick revision on what we studied in the last two classes, and then we move with the next topic. So Negotiable Instruments Act 1881 is having 147 sections in total, and they are divided into 17 different chapters. It was enacted on 9th December 1881 and it came into force on 1st April 1882. So these two dates are very important to remember, both enacted and when it came into force. The term negotiable instrument is defined under section 13, and there are three different types of instruments that this act talks about. First is promissory note section 4, bills of exchange section 5, and checks section 6. So we have already completed promissory note and bills of exchange, and we started with the checks. So there are few more topics that are remaining from checks part that we will discuss today. So the term negotiable instrument is defined under section 13. It basically includes two different words, negotiable and instrument. Negotiable means that we can transfer, and instrument means a certain type of a written document which we can transfer to someone else. And this transfer may be by two ways, endorsement or by delivery. But currency notes are not considered as a negotiable instrument under this act, even though there is a promise that is made by the person that I promise to pay the bearer a sum of a certain rupees. But even then, it is excluded under the Negotiable Instruments Act. And for any customary instruments, this act may be applicable when only if the parties are agreeing that we would be governed by Negotiable Instruments Act, or if for that particular customary instrument, the customary laws are silent regarding how to settle a certain dispute. So in those two cases, NI Act may be applicable to customary instruments also. Then we discussed what a promissory note is. It is defined under section 4. It is a certain type of a promise made by one person, and that promise would be an unconditional promise, or an unconditional undertaking would be there, wherein one person promises to pay a certain fixed amount of money to another person. These were some of the examples of promissory note: that I promised to pay 500 rupees on 15th of June 2020, or I acknowledge myself to be indebted to pay in 1000 rupees to be paid on demand for value received. This was an example of promissory note, that date and all would be mentioned, what is the amount, when it should be paid, all the things would be mentioned. And bills of exchange is defined under section 5. It is an instrument in writing that contains an unconditional order. So in promissory note, it is like an unconditional undertaking. The person himself is agreeing that I promise to pay, but here it is in the form of an order. So the creditor would be making bills of exchange. But in case of promissory note, it would be made by the debtor only. There are three parties in bills of exchange. And this is a sample of bills of exchange. Now the differences between promissory note also were discussed. Few questions. Okay, so for questions part, like today also I have covered some questions from checks part. So what happens is that I got some questions from here and there, and also I have tried to get questions from all the judiciary, like 2015 to 2019, whatever questions were asked from NI Act part, those questions also I have collected. So after finishing this act, we can just look at what type of questions are being asked. Basically, they are asking about sections and all only, not like very conceptual questions. So which section defines promissory note, for example, which section defines bills of exchange. So like that, most of the questions are from sections part only, but I will try to get all the questions that were asked from NI Act part in all the exams. This was regarding how transfer can be made, and then check. Now check is, as per the definition of section 6, check is considered as a type of bills of exchange only. But what happens is that there are certain differences, like on certain grounds, a check is also different from a bills of exchange also, but it can be considered as a type of bills of exchange only. So what a check is, it is an unconditional order containing signature of the drawer. So in bills of exchange also, it is like an order that is given by a person, right? Same in check also, it is like an order only. But order is given to whom? Order is given to the bank where the person is having his account. So it is an unconditional order containing signature of the person who will issue the check, and it will ask the bank to pay a certain amount of fixed money on demand. So checks would be always on demand. It cannot be like on this particular date, the amount has to be made to this certain person. So it would be only on demand when the person presents the check and asks for the money. And there are 3 parties to a check also. This part also we discussed. Essentials of check, types of check. Okay. Now, like there are various types of checks that we see. First is truncated check, that we saw that if a check in a physical form that is given to a bank, right? If it is converted into a digital form, how? By scanning. If it is converted into a digital form, then it would be called as a truncated check. That means a physical copy is given by the person, submitted to the bank, and then what happens is that they convert it into a digital form for their clearance process. So during that time, if it is converted by taking a scan copy of that physical check, then that digital copy would be called as a truncated check. And electronic check would be which is totally made in electronic form only by putting digital signature, and even the transfer would not be like a physical transfer, but it would be how? It would be over some secure e-check channel only. So that would be an electronic check. And both these 2 types of checks are also included under the definition of check under section 6 of the Act. So these are the 2 different types of checks that we see. Also, depending on how a check is made or what it is, it can be of, again, different 2 types. First is order check. What is an order check? If one check is issued in name of a certain person, what happens is that that person will be getting that particular amount of money. So in the check, if name of a certain person is mentioned over here, for example, Rahul Sharma, if name of a person is mentioned here, then what happens is that it would become an order check. Whenever the person would submit that particular check, he would be entitled to that money. Why? Because the person making this particular check, he has made an order to the bank that pay this amount to this particular person only. So that would be an order check when name of a person is mentioned and the person would be entitled to the sum of money that is mentioned, like 1,000 rupees, this person would be entitled. Now what happens is that even if his name is mentioned over here, what he can do is that he can transfer this particular check to someone else also. So rather than taking this 1,000 rupees himself, if he wants to transfer it to another person, what he can do is that by way of endorsement, he can transfer it to certain other person. Maybe on the back side of this particular check, he can put his signature and then he can write the name of the person to whom he wants this 1,000 rupees to be given. Or he may attach a certain like different piece of paper also, and on that paper he can write name of the other person to whom he wants this money to be given, and then he can put his signature. So if he is giving an order, like he is transferring it, then what happens is that even so the person is having a right to negotiate and transfer the check to someone else, And such negotiation will be done by order of that particular person. Name of this person is written, on his order only that particular transfer would take place, right? If someone else's name is mentioned. So then in that case, it would be an order check. And in case of bearer check, what happens when no one's name is written, it will be a bearer check. So if name of this person is not written, then it would be a bearer check. So pay to this particular person, whoever's name is written, or the bearer. So if name of person is not written, then it would be considered as a bearer check. Then whoever is carrying this check would be entitled to claim for that particular amount of money. And what happens is that if, for example, name of a person is written, Rahul Sharma is written, but he wants to get it transferred to someone else. What he has done is that on backside of this particular check, he has just put his signature. He has not mentioned name of any other person. So in that particular case also, we can say that it is a bearer check. Why? Because the person has not mentioned name, anyone's name to whom he wants to transfer it. So these are the 4 different types of checks that we see. Truncated check, that means a physical copy is converted into a digital form during the clearance process. Electronic check, it is completely electronic with digital signature and use of some secure e-check channels also. So these 2 types are even mentioned under section 6 of the Act while providing for definition of check. And these are the other 2 types that are, used here and there in the Act, that this would be an order check, this would be a bearer check, how it would be done. So here and there they have used it. They have not like properly defined what is a bearer check and all in the definition itself. So these are the differences, that order check would be when the person is clearly mentioning name of someone else and then transferring it. But bearer would be when name is not mentioned while issuing the check, or while transferring it, or by way of endorsement, name of the person is not written. So Rahul Sharma wants to transfer it. He has just put his signature without mentioning to whom he wants to transfer this particular check of 1000 rupees. Now, next topic that we have is crossing of check. So when we see these kind of 2 lines are there in any particular check, it is called as crossing of check. So now what is crossing of check? What happens in case of crossing? If the check is crossed, the payment for the same can be received only in bank account and not in counter. So if a person has issued a check with these 2 lines, then that means to whomever he is issuing this particular check, that person can take the amount only in his bank account. It does not matter in which bank he is having account, whether it is HDFC Bank, SBI Bank, ICICI Bank, whatever bank it is, it does not matter. But it matters that the person can take the money only in his bank account. So crossing of check basically means that the person cannot go to the counter and then claim for the money. It has to be collected in bank account of the person only, or the bearer, whoever, like of the person only. So this is what crossing of checks is. But there are various different types of crossings that we see, and that would indicate different meanings. So crossing of check would mean that the person can collect the money only in his bank account. Now there are 2 different types of crossings that are mentioned under the Negotiable Instruments Act. You should remember these 2 sections also. They are important, and I have seen like questions being asked, which section defines this particular type of crossing, or how many types of crossings are there under the NI Act. So there are 2 different types of crossings. Checks crossed generally, it is under section 123, and checks crossed specially, it is under section 124 of the NI Act. So try to remember these 2 sections and the different types that it talks about. First is checks crossed generally. So what is checks crossed generally? Check will be crossed and inside the line name of a company may be written. Then the amount may be taken in the bank account of that company only and not in the counter. So if a person simply puts like 2 lines like this, and here mentions name of a certain person or name of a company, then what happens is that that particular company can take the money only in bank account and not in the counter. So he cannot collect the money in counter, but he will have to deposit the check and get it in his bank account. It does not matter what in which bank he is having his account, he can get it in any account that he is holding. So for example, in this particular case, a person is issuing a check in name of Rahul Sharma and amount is mentioned as 1000 rupees. And this is from HDFC Bank. So it does not matter in which bank Rahul Sharma is having his account. It may be SBI Bank, it may be ICICI Bank, it may be some other bank also. He can get the amount, but that account should be in his name only, because here his name is mentioned and then it is crossed. So the account should be in Rahul Sharma's name, but it does not matter in which bank he is having his account. So it is called as checks crossed generally. So in general type of crossing, only thing that matters is the bank account should be in name of the person whose name is written over there. Next type of crossing that we have is checks crossed specially. What happens in case of specially? It is under section 124 that this particular concept is defined. So what happens when check is specially crossed? Inside the lines, name of the bank is written. So it may be SBI Bank, it may be maybe HDFC Bank, whatever it is, but name of a bank would be written, and then it would be called as checks crossed specially. And the amount for that particular check can be taken only in an account of that particular bank only. So in these 2 lines, if the person writes SBI, then Rahul Sharma can collect the money only in his bank account, like only in his account that is with SBI Bank. It cannot be in his bank account that is with like ICICI Bank. So what happens in case name of a certain bank is written over here, that the person can get the money only in his account with that particular or that specific bank only. So it would be called as checks crossed generally. So the person should have an account in that particular bank. He cannot deposit it in some other bank where he might be having an account. So these are the 2 different types of crossings that are mentioned under NIH. Checks crossed generally, only name is mentioned. The person will have to take it in his account only. Checks crossed specially, name of a certain bank would be mentioned and amount can be claimed in a bank account of that particular bank only. If SBI is written, the account has to be with SBI Bank only. Is this part clear? Crossing of checks?
Why is it written in the definition? Why is it like it sounds a little complicated in the definition though? Like, I mean, your examples was easy, but over here, if you read 124, it says where a check bears across its face and an addition of the name of the banker, either with or without the words not negotiable. So
Yeah,
where
so
does the word not negotiable have to go?
not negotiable. I'm explaining in the next point only. So if you see section 130, that is also talking about checks bearing not negotiable. And also it is mentioned in not negotiable, like section 123. Okay, so now these were what this is what the 2 different types of checks that we have, like crossings that we have generally and specially. So you can just try to understand from here only, like the definition from the BEREC, it might be a little complicated, but this is what it basically means, that name is mentioned, any bank, wherever you have the account, you can take the money. And here, if name of bank is mentioned, on that particular bank only, you should be having your account. Now, next thing that we have is, okay, checks bearing not negotiable. It is under section 130. So a person taking a check crossed generally or specially, bearing in either case the word not negotiable, shall not have and shall not be capable of giving a better title to the check than that which the person from whom he took it had. So now what is this title meaning? What does title mean over here?
Title to the check that the, is it the name of the person?
Not name of the person. Title is like what we see, right? In like property matters and all, what we see, like I'm having a title on this property. That means what? I'm the owner of this particular property, right? So same only it means here also. Title basically would mean who is having, you know, like his right over that particular property. In civil cases, we generally say, right, title case, title suit and all. So that title only here also it means. Now, what it is saying is that a person taking a check that may be crossed generally or it may be crossed specially, but bearing in either case the words not negotiable. So what happens is that when this particular check is issued, in these two lines, it may be name of a person is written or it may be SBI is written. But in either cases, here another word is written not negotiable. So if it is written not negotiable, then what happens that it is explaining. So in both the cases, we can make a check which is not negotiable. Now, what does not negotiable mean? It does not mean that we cannot transfer the check to someone else. We still can transfer. But what happens is that to whom we are transferring, that person will not have a better title to the check than that which the person from whom he took it had. That means, for example, I am issuing, just take for example, I am issuing a check, okay? I am issuing a check to B. And what B does is that he further negotiates that particular check to another person, negotiates it to another person C. I am the original person, right, who issued that particular check to B. Now B was having title on this particular check. If B further transfers it to C, then what happens is that C's title would not be better than what B was having. That means B is having a better title as compared to C if not negotiable is mentioned. What is the importance of this particular term is, for example, I issued a check to B for a certain thing, okay? I mentioned the amount that's 30,000 and I said that for this particular purpose or for this particular work, I'm giving you the check and the work should be done. But what B does is that B fails to perform that work, but he already took my check and he negotiated that to C. That means he transferred that check to C. Now I know that B has not performed his part of contract and he is not entitled to get that 30,000 rupees. So what I can do, maybe I can ask my bank that if this particular check bearing number this is deposited, do not clear this particular check. Now C cannot file a case against me. Why? Because his title was not a better title. So this would be applicable basically in check bounce and other cases. So if his check is not clear, he cannot file a case against me, but he has to file a case against B only. Why? Because I am anyways not entitled to pay money to either of them. So if C is entitled to get money from B, he has to file the case against B only. He cannot file a case against me that this particular check has not been cleared. So this is why negotiable, like not negotiable is used. It does not mean that it cannot be transferred. It still can be transferred, but just that the person would not have a better title than to whom I have issued. So it basically means a person taking a check crossed generally or specially. It does not matter whether name is mentioned or bank name is mentioned. If not negotiable is written, then it would be not negotiable in either of the two cases. What will happen is that if it is further transferred, that person will not have a better title than the one to whom I gave the check. So in this previous case, if I am issuing a check to Rahul Sharma, then Rahul Sharma is the person who will be having the better title. If he further transfers it to someone else, he is not having a better title. That means he cannot file a case against me for check bounce or any other like disputes. Basically, he can file that case against Rahul Sharma only. Is it clear or any doubts? Checks.
Yeah.
Okay. So you should remember that there are two types of crossings that are mentioned. So these are the two types of crossings. This is like something else only, like a condition that we can put. It is not any different type of crossing. Crossings are only two types of crossing, general and special. It is section 123 and section 124. General is name of a person would be written. Special would be name of bank would be written. Only on a bank account of that particular bank only we can deposit that particular check. And if not negotiable is mentioned, that means we can still negotiate it, we can still transfer it, but to whomever we are transferring, that person will not have a better title than what we are having. That means the second person, the third person to whom we are transferring, that person will not have a better title. He cannot file a case against the first person who issued the check. So basically, for protecting their own rights only, this particular provision is used, that even if it is transferred, even if something goes wrong, the person would not be liable. He will not have to go to the court every single time for other simple matters. So basically this provision is used, not negotiable. So it is section 130 that talks about this provision. So I have seen questions being asked from like crossing part. So try to remember the sections and the two different types. Now, what are the differences between checks and bills of exchange? Because we saw that in the definition of check, section 6, it says that check is a type of bills of exchange only. Then why do we need a separate section for check, and why do we need separate provisions for it? Because there are certain differences between a bills of exchange and a check. What are these differences? Bills of exchange is defined under section 5 of the Negotiable Instruments Act, and check is defined under section 6 of the Negotiable Instruments Act. Both are having two different definitions. In bills of exchange, we need acceptance as it is made by the creditor. So in bills of exchange, it would be valid only when it is accepted by the other person. Why? Because, for example, I am buying laptop from another person. If I am buying laptop worth 30,000 from B, what B will do is that B is the person who will issue this bills of exchange. So what B will do is that he will make a bills of exchange that on, like, after, for example, after 2 months from this particular date, you should provide me 30,000 rupees. So in this case, B is giving me an order. So unless and until I accept that particular order, it will not have any legal validity, right? Because B can just make any order with his own self. There is no guarantee that this particular order is genuine or not. So always I need to accept that particular order. So in bills of exchange, what happens is that acceptance is needed, and acceptance should be by the debtor only. Why? Because it is made by the creditor. To make me liable, I need to accept that particular bill. So I will write as accepted, and then I will put my signature and everything just to make it an authentic document so that B can claim his money later on. But in case of check, what happens is that we do not need any sort of acceptance, and it is paid on demand. Why we do not need any acceptance? Because I'm only making that particular check, right? So there is no point of any acceptance. I'm only issuing the check that give this particular amount to this particular person. So there is no concept of acceptance in check, because the person himself is giving an order to the bank that pay this particular amount on demand. Whenever the person demands it, pay this amount to the person. So there is no concept of acceptance in check, but there is a concept of acceptance in case of bills of exchange. And here order is given to the debtor, right? The creditor would say that pay 30,000 after 2 months to me. But here order is given to the bank. So the person issuing the check, he will give an order to the bank that whenever this check is deposited to you demanding this amount of money, you should pay this amount. So the order is given to bank in check, but order is given to the debtor in case of bills of exchange. This is the main difference, and why we need two different sections for these two instruments. Another difference is it contains an order to pay, and checks are payable only on demand. So in case of bills of exchange, it is an order to pay. So it would be mentioned that on this particular day, you should pay 30,000 rupees to this particular person. So it is an order to pay. On this particular date, you should pay it. But in case of check, what happens is that it is always on demand. Unless and until the check is deposited in bank, the person will not get his money. That means he will have to demand for his money. Unless and until check is presented, it does not matter that it is having a validity of 3 months or anything like that. It would not be paid until it is demanded. So in here it is like an order, and here it is like a demand that the person will have to make. So in bills of exchange, usually what happens is that we mention a time frame, right? We mention that after 2 months, after 3 months, or we may mention a specific date also. On 19th of June 2020, pay me 30,000 rupees. So what happens is that here it is usually that a date is mentioned. On that particular date only, the amount should be paid. Or if no date is mentioned, then what happens is that it would be paid on demand. So the person can just go and present the bills of exchange that you had promised to pay me this particular sum of money, so pay it to me. So generally date would be mentioned. If not, then it would be on demand. But in case of check, what happens is that it is a time frame would be there, right? That whatever date is mentioned, from that particular day till 3 months the check would be valid. Within these 3 months, whenever the person demands for the money, he would get that amount. But after 3 months, he will not be entitled to get the money. Why? Because the validity has already expired. In case of bills of exchange, there is a concept of grace period of 3 days for the payment of money. So if date is mentioned like 19th of June 2020, what happens is that after 3 days from that particular day, we would consider that this is the date of maturity. But in case of check, what happens is that there is no concept of grace period that is applicable.
Can you please repeat that grace period thing for bills of exchange?
Yeah. So in case of bills of exchange, what happens is that we get a grace period of 3 days. That means if, for example, the date is 16th of June, then we would consider that after 3 days from that date only, it would be, like the date of maturity will be. But in case of check, we do not have any concept of grace period. So this grace period concept would be applicable for promissory note and bills of exchange. Bills of exchange cannot be paid to the bearer, but checks can be payable to bearer. So that means we cannot make a bills of exchange or a promissory note saying that pay to the bearer this particular amount. For example, when we are making a promissory note, a name of a person has to be written here to whom payment is due. We cannot just write that pay to the bearer this particular amount. In case of bills of exchange also, we cannot just mention pay to the bearer this particular amount. We can mention, for example, if I am issuing this particular bills of exchange, I can mention my name, that pay me name of like my name and then this particular amount. Or maybe I can mention someone else's name also, but a name has to be mentioned.
How often is bills of exchange and all of that used? Because now that we have check and all of that.
Yeah. So obviously check is like most popular thing. In cases also, if you see for Negotiable Instruments Act, all the cases would be for check bounce only. So those two types are not like very common thing that you would see anyways. For companies, for small firms, even for individuals, when you see there are like lot many cases for check bounce only. For one company, if you see, there would be like hundreds of cases that they have filed, or maybe they are like it is filed against them regarding check bounce. For other two things, you don't see like any type of dispute regarding parties, businesses, whatever it is. So check is the most common one that you would see. So for promissory note and bills of exchange, it cannot be paid to the bearer. We need to mention name of a person. Why? Because it is like the Reserve Bank of India, there is one provision where RBI is like restricting that people cannot make a like instrument where they would say, I promise to pay this particular amount to the bearer. This right is reserved only with reserved time. So while in the currency notes we see, right, that I promise to the bearer this particular sum. So this is like an exclusive right that they are holding. So individual persons, if they are issuing any promissory note or bills of exchange, they cannot just mention pay to the bearer or I promise to pay to the bearer. They need to mention name of a certain person to whom they want to pay that particular amount. But in case of check, what happens is that it can be to the bearer. So the check itself is containing these words, right? If we are mentioning someone's name, it will be to that person. If we are not mentioning name, then it will automatically be to the bearer. So in case of check, it may be paid to the bearer also.